you're as crazy as the people on Twitter.
Right.
I'm not Lawrence Fishburne.
That's my fault. I know that. That was my fault.
Lawrence Fishburne, and I was not in a commercial, and I'm not that other black guy who's in that commercial, or I'm not the black guy who's in this other commercial.
At 76, Samuel L. Jackson is done staying quiet, and he's finally letting it rip. After decades of surviving Hollywood politics, fake smiles, and backstabbing co-workers, he's dropping names and exposing the 5 actors he just can't stand. The signs were always there, the sharp looks, the sly jabs, but now the gloves are off. From shady set drama to behind-the-scenes sabotage, Samuel isn't just throwing shade, he's setting fire to bridges with no way back. And the names on his list, fans couldn't believe their eyes. Right now, Hollywood is trembling. With a career spanning 5 decades and over $27 billion in box office power, Samuel L. Jackson isn't just a movie star, he's a cultural bulldozer. His recall is lethal, his words slice like knives, and at this stage of his life, he refuses to play nice for anybody.
You guys known each other?
Wow, since 80, wow. I was doing Soldier's Play when I met Spike, so maybe 84, 5.
Forget the Marvel checks and the purple lightsaber. This is the raw, unfiltered Samuel they never wanted you to see. The man who rewrote the rules, demanded his respect, and never bowed to the system. Think you know Samuel L. Jackson? Think again. This is the guy who turned down Steven Spielberg twice, who made George Lucas bend Star Wars canon to fit his vision. And when Marvel tried to cut his money, he stared them down and said, "Double it or Nick Fury walks." But topping his feud list is the clash nobody wanted to admit, yet everybody whispered about. Spike Lee. That's right, Samuel L. Jackson versus Spike Lee. 2 titans of black cinema. Once hailed as an unstoppable team, now frozen in a cold, bitter stand.
We had not worked together since Jungle Fever, so it was a wonderful reunion.
Why? Because this wasn't just some petty spat. It was betrayal, ego, power plays, and a silent war that dragged on for decades. Hollywood tried to cover it up, but the tension was way too loud to ignore. Back in the late 1980s, Spike Lee wasn't just making movies, he was sparking a cultural wave. And one of the first actors to ride that surge was a hungry, rising Samuel L. Jackson. Spike opened the door, casting him in School Days, 1988, then handing him the unforgettable mic as DJ Mr. Senor Love Daddy in Do the Right Thing, 1989.
Samuel, apparently you have recently lost your title as the highest grossing actor of all time.
Yeah, I've been displaced.
By
Harrison Ford, again. I displaced him, he displaced me, but hey, it's only 70 mil.
The partnership only got hotter. They linked up for Mo Better Blues and Jungle Fever. Jackson's portrayal of Gator, the crack addict spinning out of control, was so electric that Cannes literally broke its own rules for him. They created a one-time only Best Supporting Actor award just for that performance, something they hadn't done in over a decade and never repeated again. That's how untouchable Samuel was in that moment. To the outside world, Spike and Sam looked unstoppable, like Scorsese and De Niro, but louder, bolder, and unapologetically black. Fans thought it was the start of a dynasty, a duo that would shape cinema for decades, until it suddenly collapsed. By 1992, Spike was gearing up for his magnum opus, Malcolm X. This wasn't just another film, it was history in motion. Naturally, Spike wanted Jackson in it. He pushed for Sam to audition for Baines, the pivotal prison mentor who guides Malcolm toward Islam. Jackson nailed the audition, secured the role, but then came the curveball. No confirmation, no celebration. Instead, Spike's phone rang, and it wasn't Sam on the line. It was his agent, cold and blunt. Jackson was turning the role down. Why? The money. Spike had offered scale plus 10, the bare minimum SAG allowed with the standard 10% agent cut. For an actor who just lit Cannes on fire, that felt like a slap in the face. Jackson rejected it outright. And Spike, he wasn't just disappointed, he felt flat out disrespected. What bothered me was not that he didn't want to do the film, Spike admitted, but that he had his agent call me.
First of all, Spike, so glad you're sitting down. After 18 consecutive home losses, the Knicks won tonight. I repeat, the Knicks won tonight.
I thought we had a relationship, Spike said. To him, it was about respect. He expected Jackson to pick up the phone himself. But from Sam's side, that so-called relationship was starting to feel less like brotherhood and more like Spike demanding blind loyalty. Years later, when Samuel was asked about the fallout, he didn't sugarcoat a thing. It wasn't the most pleasant conversation, Jackson admitted. Spike vented his frustrations, and Sam, he brushed it off with a laugh. What really set Jackson off wasn't the argument itself. It was Spike's tone, like Sam owed him lifelong gratitude just because he gave him those early shots. But Sam wasn't buying it. He made it crystal clear. Spike didn't make him. They built each other up, and if anything, Jackson's powerhouse performances had boosted Spike's films to the next level. Then Sam really turned the heat up. He pointed out that Spike was cashing in 4 checks from Malcolm X, director, writer, producer, and actor, while expecting his cast to scrape by on the bare minimum. Jackson's clapback, "You want to pay me scale while you collect 4 salaries? Nah, let me play your role and make some real money while I'm at it." That brutal honesty, Spike was not ready for it. And Jackson didn't stop there. He doubled down. He said he'd earned his spot in the industry, and loyalty didn't mean working for free. If Spike couldn't pay properly or at least offer a slice of the back-end profits, then why should Sam stick around? He wasn't the same broke stage actor anymore. Hollywood doors were already wide open. And right in the middle of that standoff came the game changer. Sam's agent hit him with the news. "You just won an award at Cannes." For what? Jungle Fever. The festival had invented a whole new category just to honor his performance. That was the stamp of approval. Hollywood wanted Jackson, and he wasn't about to miss that moment. So instead of joining Spike's historical epic, Sam made a bold pivot. He signed on for White Sands, a gritty thriller with Willem Dafoe and Mickey Rourke. That decision split their paths for the next 2 decades. What followed was 22 years of complete silence. No calls, no roles, no collaborations. Jackson was working with everybody.
He was writing episode 1, said, "Well, I don't know, what I could do, but, I heard you like my films." I'm like, "Look, man, put me in one of those white suits and let me run across screen."
Tarantino, Scorsese, Marvel, but never Spike. And when Spike started firing shots at Quentin Tarantino over the use of the N-word in Django Unchained, Jackson didn't just brush it off, he clapped right back. It's just another way of saying Spike needs to shut the F up. That's straight from Samuel L. Jackson's mouth. And the second those words hit the press, the feud went nuclear. The quiet tension was gone. Now it was loud, ugly, and impossible to ignore. By then, everybody in Hollywood knew this wasn't just gossip, this was war. Some blamed Spike's ego, others pointed at Sam's refusal to bow down, but the truth? The battle was about control. Spike demanded loyalty, Jackson demanded freedom, and neither of these 2 giants was willing to fold. Here's the twist of irony. Jackson has always said Jungle Fever, the very film that made Cannes bend its rules, actually saved his life. He had just stepped out of rehab before playing Gator. He was detoxing, shaky, barely holding on, but he still delivered a performance so brutally real, people thought he was actually smoking crack. "I didn't need makeup. I was Gator," Sam confessed. The Fruit of Islam brothers on set even tried to throw him out, convinced he was a real addict who'd stumbled onto the production. That role didn't just launch his career, it kept him alive. And that's why the break with Spike cut so deep. The man who had once thrown him that lifeline later tried to pay him scraps and treat him like a rookie. For Jackson, that betrayal was unforgivable. But fast forward to 2013, and something unexpected happened. After more than 20 years of frozen silence, Jackson and Spike quietly found their way back together through the Old Boy remake. Their wives reconnected first, then came dinners, and slowly the wall between them started to crack. "We had not worked together since Jungle Fever," Jackson admitted. "So was it a wonderful reunion?" "Yeah." At one of those dinners, Spike revealed he was remaking Old Boy, and Jackson immediately jumped in. "Can I be in it?" Just like that, they were back on set together. Jackson later admitted it felt easy again.
There's enough problem being vilified himself as a racist because he uses in his scripts that much, or puts those kinds of words in a character's mouth.
"He doesn't get in my way artistically," Sam told Playboy. "Whatever I come with, and it's cool." But let's be real. Some polite dinners and one forgettable film didn't wash away 2 decades of bitterness. So when Samuel L. Jackson finally dropped his list of the 5 actors he can't stand, the truth came out raw. This wasn't petty revenge, it was closure. It was Jackson ripping the lid off a secret Hollywood had tiptoed around for years. And who was sitting right at the top of that list? Spike Lee. No matter how many awards they shared or how legendary their collabs once were, this feud was never about art. It was about respect, and neither man was ever willing to give it. On paper, Quentin Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson should have been Hollywood soulmates. 6 legendary collaborations, decades of loyalty, and some of the greatest scenes in movie history, all born from this director-actor duo. But in Hollywood, loyalty always comes with an expiration date, especially when egos collide. From the fiery sermons of Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction to the cold menace of Steven in Django Unchained, Jackson has always been the heartbeat of Tarantino's films. Nobody else could spit Tarantino's marathon monologues with that kind of rhythm and authority. Even Tarantino himself once admitted, "Sam says it like poetry." But here's the twist. When you're a control freak like Quentin, Jackson's genius turned into a problem. Audiences started whispering that Sam must be writing those unforgettable lines himself. And sometimes, they weren't wrong. That infamous "cool in the gang" line from Pulp Fiction, 100% Jackson improv. And Tarantino hated it. In an interview, he snapped, "I get pissed off that people think Sam came up with most of his own dialogue. I wrote Sam's dialogue." That wasn't just irritation. That was wounded pride. To Tarantino, his scripts are scripture, sacred and untouchable. In his world, actors aren't partners, they're vessels. So watching Samuel L. Jackson become the voice of Tarantino's brand, while fans credited Sam for the swagger and flavor, cut him deep. Tarantino may have smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, jealousy was eating him alive. Fast forward to 2024. Pulp Fiction hits its 30th anniversary.
Samuel L. Jackson, where are you? 152 movie titles, 27 billion in box office, more than any other actor.
Tarantino and Jackson share the stage at the TCM Classic Film Festival, and fans expected nostalgia, fireworks, maybe even magic. Instead, what they got was awkward silence and daggers in the form of side eyes. Tarantino launched into his usual ego-fueled genius breakdowns, while Jackson slid in a sharp jab, saying the difference in Tarantino's movies came down to how much time was spent telling you who you are and how you feel. Translation? Forget the camera tricks, Quentin. It was me that made your characters unforgettable. Then came the explosion. Tarantino blasted Marvel on a podcast, dismissing Marvel actors as not real movie stars, insisting the franchise itself was the draw. But Jackson, who's been Nick Fury for nearly 20 years, wasn't letting that slide. On The View, he clapped back, "Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. You can't refute that, and he's a movie star." Subtext? Don't try to erase our shine just because you don't like capes and CGI. This wasn't just a spat, it was a war of philosophies. Tarantino worships cinema as art. Jackson values cinema as impact. And while Sam never begged for Oscars, he made one thing clear. He'd rather swing a lightsaber or rock an eye patch than beg Hollywood for validation. And that truth, it drives Tarantino crazy. Here's the real twist. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't bow to Quentin Tarantino anymore. The power dynamic flipped. The actor who once breathed life into Quentin's scripts is now openly mocking his arrogance, dismissing his Marvel hate, and refusing to play Hollywood's politics game. Tarantino may have helped boost Jackson from character actor to global icon, but he also tried to box him in. And Samuel L. Jackson doesn't do boxes. The bromance, cracked, the magic, fading fast. And in a business built on fake smiles, Jackson just fired a warning shot straight at Tarantino.
Is not a fool of any sort and understands a whole lot about what's going on in life and in the world.
But if you ask Sam what really fuels the heat with Lawrence Fishburne, it isn't just about one role, it's about respect. And Jackson, a man known for his sharp tongue, never forgets when someone tries to dim his shine. So let's rewind. Pulp Fiction, 1994, the cult classic that rocketed Jackson into superstardom. His character Jules Winfield, with that bone-chilling Ezekiel 25:17 monologue and those piercing eyes, became one of the most legendary roles in cinema. But here's the curveball most fans don't know. That role was first offered to Lawrence Fishburne, and he turned it down. Now here's where the shade gets messy. Years later, in a casual interview with Jamel Hill, Fishburne dropped the bomb. "I turned down Pulp Fiction. I don't regret that at all. That's the role that made Sam Jackson a star, and I contributed to that. I stayed out the way." Contributed? Stayed out the way? To Jackson, that wasn't harmless talk. That was ego on display. It's one thing to pass on a role, but to claim you made someone by rejecting it, that's a slap in the face. In Jackson's eyes, he didn't borrow that spotlight, he owned it, suggesting it was some kind of hand-me-down. That's Hollywood arrogance at its loudest. But it didn't stop there. Their tension spilled into one of the most uncomfortable and viral moments in entertainment history. During a live TV interview, a reporter confused Jackson with, of all people, Lawrence Fishburne. Sam snapped instantly, shutting it down in real time. "I'm not Lawrence Fishburne. We don't all look alike. We may all be black and famous, but we don't all look alike. You are busted." That moment was raw, it was real, and it cracked open years of bottled-up frustration. Beneath the jokes and sarcasm, something deeper was festering. Jackson was done being mistaken for a man who, in his eyes, threw shade while pretending to give him props. The line that stung the most, when Fishburne said, "I contributed to that." To Jackson, that wasn't respect. It was a slap dressed up as a compliment. It dripped with Hollywood elitism, as if he should be grateful to eat off another man's plate, as if his career only existed because Fishburne passed. The wild irony, Fishburne admitted he didn't even like Tarantino's script, said parts of it rubbed him the wrong way. Yet once the film blew up and Jackson's career went into the stratosphere, suddenly Fishburne found a way to tie himself to the legacy by omission, by association, by claiming credit through his so-called decision. Behind the cameras, insiders swear these two never cleared the air. No sit-downs, no apologies, no closure. Just decades of slick interview shade, cold energy at award shows, and stiff smiles whenever their paths crossed. Jackson didn't need to spell it out. When someone turns down your career-defining role, then tries to claim partial credit, and on top of that people still confuse you with them, that's not just disrespect. It's personal. And for Samuel L. Jackson, that lands you permanently on the hate list. But Hollywood wasn't done testing him. Bigger galaxies were waiting. You'd think getting tapped by George Lucas to step into Star Wars would be the ultimate dream. And for a while, it was. Samuel L. Jackson's Mace Windu became one of the most iconic Jedi Masters ever. The purple lightsaber, that was his personal demand. The swagger, the authority, the unforgettable one-liners, all pure Jackson. He took what could have been just another faceless Jedi and turned him into a fan-favorite legend. But behind the galaxy-sized hype, cracks were already forming. Because the truth is, Jackson's Star Wars run came with serious behind-the-scenes tension. And here's the kicker. George Lucas didn't even want him at first. Jackson admitted he literally begged just to be part of the franchise, saying he'd be fine playing a stormtrooper in the background. That's how little he expected. Lucas almost casually tossed him a role that grew into Mace Windu. Sounds wholesome, right? Think again. Fast forward to Revenge of the Sith, and that's when the drama really started bubbling. Daniel Logan, the young actor who played Boba Fett, revealed that Mace Windu was originally supposed to die at his hands, not Palpatine's. The plan? A full-circle revenge arc. Jango Fett's son avenging his father by taking out the Jedi who killed him. It was storyboarded, discussed, and ready to roll. But according to Logan, Samuel L. Jackson shut it all down. He allegedly went straight to George Lucas and vetoed the whole idea. Jackson supposedly told him, "I don't think some punk kid should be able to take out a Jedi Council member." That's right, punk kid. And just like that, the storyline disappeared. Logan said he was left hanging, waiting nearly a year for a callback that never came. Instead, he was iced out completely, and his career stalled. And let's keep it real. This is Star Wars, a universe that literally brought back Darth Maul after being sliced in half. But Boba Fett avenging his father? Erased. Why? Because Jackson didn't want his Jedi legend going out like that. Fans are split. Some say it was pure ego. Others argue Jackson was just protecting Mace Windu's legacy. Either way, Logan lost his big shot at superstardom. His character's revenge arc was gone, and with it, his chance at being a central figure in the saga. Here's the kicker. Jackson has never spoken on it. No apology, no acknowledgement, just radio silence. Meanwhile, Logan still brings it up at conventions, hinting that his career got derailed by Jackson's behind-the-scenes power moves. It's the classic Hollywood tale. One superstar's image gets protected while another actor's future gets sacrificed. So when people ask why Samuel L. Jackson put George Lucas on his can't stand list, the answer isn't about lightsabers or Jedi robes, it's about power, about the secret decisions made in closed rooms, where one man can flip an entire storyline just because he's too big to lose. And if you think that's messy, brace yourself, because the next name on Jackson's list might be the most shocking yet. When two Hollywood titans, each with resumes stacked with Spielberg, Tarantino, and more, go 3 decades without ever sharing the screen, that's no accident, that's a choice. Samuel L. Jackson and Denzel Washington have one of Hollywood's most fascinating frenemy rivalries. In public, it's all handshakes and praise, but behind the curtain, they've been locked in a quiet battle for dominance for decades. They're two of the only black actors in history to consistently headline films that crossed the $100 million mark at the box office, true heavyweights in their own right. And in 2001, that rivalry reached a breaking point with Training Day. Jackson wanted the role of Alonzo Harris, the crooked cop dripping with charm and menace, but the part went to Denzel. His chilling performance didn't just steal the spotlight, it won him his second Oscar. That cemented one truth. When it came to hard-hitting drama, Denzel still wore the crown. Jackson didn't go head-to-head, he switched lanes. Instead of chasing statues, he built an empire. He planted his flag in blockbuster territory, Marvel, Star Wars, and beyond, and it paid off bigger than anyone expected. With over $27 billion in worldwide earnings, Samuel L. Jackson became the single highest-grossing actor in film history. Meanwhile, Denzel stayed locked on prestige projects, the kind that stack awards, rave reviews, and keep him celebrated as the ultimate actor's actor. 2 different paths, 2 different definitions of greatness. But don't get it twisted. Behind the smiles and polite speeches, the tension between them has always been real. Denzel is the kind of performer who disappears so completely into his characters that you forget you're watching Denzel Washington at all. He carved his own lane behind the scenes too, launching Monday Lane Entertainment to tell the stories he wanted told. Jackson, meanwhile, became a box office juggernaut by turning himself into an instantly recognizable brand. His voice, his swagger, his energy became the product audiences came back for. He turned Nick Fury and Mace Windu into cultural giants, and his bold deal with Marvel, signing one of the most actor-friendly contracts in the entire franchise, proved you can rule the blockbuster world while cashing massive checks and keeping your creative freedom. If Denzel stands for the purity of craft, then Samuel L. Jackson is the raw force of personal brand. Both men reshaped Hollywood, but in totally different ways. And here's the cold reality. The idea of Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson finally sharing the screen isn't some dream matchup. It's a studio nightmare. Insiders know it's not just about egos, it's about 2 completely opposite approaches to storytelling colliding head-on. Denzel avoids green screen, CGI-heavy blockbusters. Jackson thrives in them. Meanwhile, Jackson couldn't care less about chasing Oscar bait dramas, the exact lane Denzel rules with an iron grip. Their careers have been like chess pieces, almost designed to never land on the same square. They're not enemies, they're not friends. They're 2 kings, each running his own empire, each defending his own lane. And the truth? If those lanes ever collided, Hollywood's system would crack under the weight. So here it is. Samuel L. Jackson isn't just dropping names, he's dropping bombs. After decades of fake smiles, industry politics, and silent grudges, he's finally speaking his truth, loud, raw, and unapologetic. If you made it this far, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts, hit subscribe, and share it with someone who lives for the drama as much as you do. See you on the next one.